for today's demo, I saw in a woodworking magazine something that kind of looked like this is a Christmas tree ornament. And I thought, that's interesting. I bet I can do that in clay. And so I tried that, and this is my first prototype. It came out okay, but it's got a few problems. But I learned some lessons. Then I sat down and designed this one on my own, and I like the way that one came out. So I thought I would go back to this, and today I will show you how I made this one, and we'll go from there. I started by making three, and they don't show up very well on that, so let me put them on something else. I made three templates, one for each of the three layers, because there are three layers in that. And you can see my templates there. Now, initially, when I made this one, I actually was going to put holes in there, but I decided not to later on. It may be something I ought to try. But I actually tried making this one first, and then that one, and then the small one. It turned out that was the wrong order. So I then went back and made the small one first. And from that one, I could then decide how to position the others and how to make theirs, because I couldn't get the holes lined up correctly. And so starting with the small one was the way that worked out the best. So just for your information, and in case you're wondering, this one is about 2.5 inches across. This one I think is 2 1/4, and that is just 2 inches across. So they're each about 1/4 inch smaller than the previous one. And it makes them nest quite nicely. Use my classic X-Acto blade to cut them out. And let me say this is going to be a quick demo, but I will start where I actually started, and that is I've got a piece of silver clay here that is fairly well conditioned. And if I was thinking about it, I would do something to the back, but I will work on that later. So I'm going to take my template for the silver, because I want the silver to be the largest piece. And I run this through the POS machine just one setting below the thickest setting. Thought about doing it on a medium setting, but it came out a little too thin for the ornament, and I like the way this came out. And since it's fairly square, it is easy to work with, this one. And as you can imagine, there's not a lot of tricks involved in doing most of these. There's a few things I'll show you as I go along. And it helps if you keep it tied down so that it doesn't walk away, and try to come up with an odd shape. I could have used a clay cutter on this, but when I cut out my clay cutters, the 2.5 inch clay cutter was 2.5 inches along one edge, and it was 2 3/4 along another edge, and that is never going to work. So that's going to give me the back piece. Now I'm going to take that and set it aside. For the moment. Now with the middle piece, which is going to be red in this case, again, I've run it through the POS machine on the next to the thickest setting. And it needs to go through a few more times, it looks like, because it is misbehaving as clay wants to do. Right now, see if that's better. Okay, one more pass. And the red I'm going to put down here because you may not be able to see it, but there's some odd streaks in the clay. I'm going to cut, again, along the outside with a straight blade, holding it in place while I cut, because these things do have a habit of moving. for some reason. Clay sticks to the table and the template does not stick to the clay. And with that, I've got that. Now then, initially I had left these little cutouts in there and I used a ball stylus to put an impression on them. That didn't work that well. So I went back and cut them out. Then I just need to be careful and cut along the edges. You know, watching me cut 4 of these out is just so exciting. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut all 4 of them. Get it to be what I want. And you do need to come back later and clean up inside, because if you're like me, you never cut clean. But this, since the clay is soft, it cuts easy, but I want to make sure I get the corner, so I start at the corner and work towards the center. And now we've got messy, messy, which is why we go back and clean it up. Be able to see better the mess once I take the template off and can get a careful look at it, which point I will then go back in and do whatever cleanup looks necessary. And while I'm at it, I will probably say this again later, but I decided I kind of like to roll the edges just a little bit, and I will show you that when I get to the point where I do that. It just makes it look not quite so sharp and a little smoother there. If I remove the template and look, you can see I've got a little bit of extra clay there. I've got a little damage over here I need to clean up. Probably fix it that way. That guy needs a little piece stuck in here. There we go. They're hanging it there. Little guy there that's going to stick around. Over here. Whoops. I'll do that. That back. And that goes back. Now what I've been doing is taking one of my clay shapers. I'm out of focus. Hello. And moving along the edge here, just ever so gently. And I can also come in and clean up some of this. Rid of things that are sticking around. Just kind of smooth up these inserts a little bit, or these cutouts a little bit so that they look nice. And again, you can use your fingernail to roll the edges just ever so slightly so that they don't look quite as sharp as they had, and hide some of the tool marks too. And okay, there's that one. Pull that up and set him aside. There is one last thing I need to do as I'm thinking about it. I may as well do it while I'm thinking. There's usually a little fuzz along the edge, and so I like to go around the edge once with my finger and remove any fuzz that's stuck there. And again, put a little bit of pressure so that it's a little bit rounded. I must have cornered it. Don't know what happened here, but we'll get rid of that. Did bring up some other things. Made their way into it. There may be pieces of clay that were still left in the tile. And set that aside for the moment and go to the green. This is, after all, Christmas ornament. I don't want red on my green at this point. This one is delicate. I had a lot of trouble with it the first time around. It's the first piece of clay I used was rather soft and kept moving on me as I was in the process of moving it over. Yes, I'm pressing down on this guy to kind of make sure he stays, because there is not a lot of clay it's going to be left when I cut, and I don't need any mistakes. Take the green out. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. Okay, we go back in, reposition. That edge should be good, so I'm going to try and get him back against that edge. Yeah, he didn't quite go. That's okay. We have to do it all over again. But that guy, I think this guy goes all the way to the edge, so we'll find out in just a minute. So far, so good. And we will hold him down so that he doesn't get away from us. You got a mess on this edge. You can't see it, but I can, and did not cut clean. Come back and clean that up. Get clean cut. Okay, we got that. Yay. Now, cutting out the inserts again. This actually gets to be, since they are so thin, the wall is, you have to be very careful as I'm cutting, because it is easy to touch the paper and move everything. Yes, I know, I should have used cardboard or cardstock when I made these, but I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I wanted to have the option of making some mistakes, which I did a few. I won't show you the ones I started, but sure you're cut all the way around. We are. And I got a little bit of red left over. Okay. Again, I've got a little bit of cleanup to do on that guy, but that's not too surprising. Sure, we get this guy marked carefully. Careful to avoid the paper while you're cutting. So if you move the paper, you're going to start all over again. The others are not as critical, but this guy, again, since they are so thin, there's very little room for mistakes. That piece down. Looks like I may have a slight boo-boo in one corner. Take a look at it in a few minutes. Decide what I'm going to do. Let me get these guys cut out first. That guy, hopefully this guy has held his place. We can just go about doing what we need to do here. Are some lessons on assembling this thing that I learned a long time ago when I first started putting pieces together and building stuff with clay. And we'll pass that along in just a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to take this guy off and see how it looks. That corner got a little bit mashed. I think if I press him down, move things around a little bit. See, I've still got some scrappy stuff here that I need to remove. This guy really does need to be clean. He is so thin that he will tend to move just in the assembly process, and I don't need that to happen. And I need to get all of the extra pieces out of there because they will show up. Ask me how I know. Okay, that guy looks good. I'm going to take him and put him away. You see how easily he moves. So that is going to be a challenge when we come back to him. Now, obviously, assembly shouldn't be too big a challenge because all I've got to do is put these on top of one another, right? That's the theory. Let me take the red, take another look at the red. See which side is the right side up. That's the right side up. Still needs some work. We've got a piece of clay right here that needs to be removed. What we got here that needs to, move around a little bit. Let's see, let's take that guy out. Clean up this just a little. I'm trying to work this edge, push it down a little bit. We might have push it down since I don't really want to get fingerprints on it. Put a deli sheet over it, and then I can just kind of run the edges and get them a little better shape. I'll run the edge on the outside since I really like to have that just with a slight hint of a curve to it. Okay. All right. I get picky about this. Gotcha. Yeah, got it. Okay. I will quit playing with it at this point. Pick him up. Now, the pile, because I don't need that on there. Now, one thing I learned early on is if I try to get this thing dead center, any little error is going to show up. However, if I actually put it off center somehow, it doesn't look so bad because it's obvious that I intended for it to be off center. It's just a matter now of getting some balance into it while it's still off center. And I feel like he's moving on me. Only because he has moved on me. And if this guy's moving, imagine the fun I'm going to have with the with the green piece. Okay. Get you back to where you should be. I'm going to put him a little closer to that corner than I think he really needs to be. And that puts him just a little bit off center, maybe a slight twist on him. I can kind of clean that up a little bit. And there he is. He's obviously not quite square on there, but that's okay. I can always argue that I intended that. If I make it far enough out that it's obvious that I intended for it to be that out. Now this guy is the challenge. He needs a little bit of cleanup on the sides. And as you might be able to see, he's obviously worked a little bit already. So I'm going to turn him upside down and put him on my template. Get him back into position. Using my fingernails to get him lined up on the template the way I want him to be lined up on the template, as opposed to the way he wants to line up on the template. Extra pieces out of there. Get this nudged over where he should be. Now I'm going to take this whole thing, put him down about like that. He should not be down tight, so I should be able to move him a little bit, getting into the right orientation. Get these pieces aligned vertically, reasonably close, being straight. My clay tool and nudge him just a little bit over here, trying to get him positioned. That guy down a little over. And it looks like it is about where I want it without I'm using a sheet of white paper pressed down just to kind of make sure everything sticks together really well. And at this point, I'm going to pause the recording for just a minute. It took a minute or two there to find myself an eye pen, because this is an ornament, and so I need to hang it. And I've got some tools here. Now, again, this is one of those things that I started doing a long time ago, and I found that it really helps. If I use the pin straight, I've had them pull out on me. So what you find me doing is taking some of these pins and putting a little bend in them here and there. I don't need much. I just need something for the clay to hang on to. And occasionally, I had been known to go in and put a real serious bend on the tip, so that the tip has got can grab onto something if that's going to work. In this case, it's not going to work because I can see that I'm going to have a problem. So what I'm going to do, let's see, I want the pin about there. I want this guy to come over off to the side. Yes, had I been smart, I would have done this before I put the clay together. But what would the fun of the demo be? But I don't make mistakes in the demo, and you guys won't see what you can do wrong and how to do it better. I'm going to take this guy and put him between the silver and the red, with the piece picking out just a little bit out the top of the silver. To do that, I need to get him way over to the side, because my hands are way too big for this operation, so I need to use the tool. Got him. So he's going to go in About like that, I think. We'll see. I'm gonna try it. Hope springs eternal and all that sort of thing. So we take this guy, I want him in. That's not gonna work. Oh, I know what happened. So I take this guy and put him in. He's got to go in roughly that way. Force him in there. Going move just a hair or so slightly so that he doesn't show. Get a little piece of him there. We got him in. Use my tool. Use my tool. Don't you love it when tools run away from you? Push him over a little bit so he's hidden. Press the clay down around him. Get him back to this piece. Press on it. Him down in there. Down here. Tendency to quite get him flat, apparently. That will get him down there. And to make sure he's going to stay, I'm going to take a very small piece of silver clay and I'm going to run it through the pot machine on a very thin setting. So mine goes from 1 to some number like 7, and I'm running it through on a 4. And he is going to be shaped like that triangle. See, that's going to work. Okay. Put him on there on top. I'm going to press him down. I know he hangs over the edge a little bit. That's okay. We have ways of fixing that. Smooth him down so he blends in with everything else. Get him down there. There you go. Down you go. Take my blade. Just trim the excess. Don't need excess out there. There we go. A little bit more smoothing to hide that thing, hide the seam. Cover this gap a little bit. Bring that down. And with that, that is about where I'm going to leave the ornament. And someday I will learn to quit messing with things after I'm done. Okay, that is the ornament. There are other things you can do, obviously. You can make other shapes. You can make any shape you want with this idea. So I've got that shape. I've been working on looking at a teardrop design. Now with this, I've used nothing but solid colors because they're easy to work with. But there's nothing to stop me from using foil on a piece. So I've got one of my pieces would have foil on it instead of being just solid color, or I could do Mokimigane or marble something. So I get just a different look that way. But that's an idea that just that will make a nice Christmas tree ornament, homemade. Thank you for watching.